Welcome and thank you for joining us for the Factor Uncensored tonight. Today, President Trump signed an executive order overhauling the way U.S. elections work. That includes documented proof of citizenship to register to vote in federal elections. You need a passport, birth certificate, or naturalization papers. The executive order also demands that all ballots be received by Election Day. Now, the president is calling on states to work with federal agencies to share voter lists and prosecute election crimes. The order threatens to pull federal funding from states where election officials don't comply. President Trump says more action will be taken on elections in the coming weeks. There's been a lot of mixed reaction to this news tonight. We ask if proof of citizenship be required for the voter registration process on the Isiah Factor Instagram page, a poll we have there. So far, 87% of you said yes and 13% said no. Joining us to talk about it, Shanidra Wagner, owner of Spanish Etc. of Pearland, Cesar Espinosa of Fiel Houston, and members of the Urban Conservatives of America, Melissa Wilson and Alexandria Butler. Glad to have you all here on The Factor. First of all, Cesar, let's begin with you. This will directly target individuals in your community who may not be here or assumed to be here illegally, and then there are other communities as well, from Haitian to those from Latin America. Your thoughts on this?
Well, I mean, it's made to play out like this is only targeted immigrant people or the people that are supposedly voting in elections, when really there's been no proof that there's massive voter fraud or voter fraud in general. Here in Texas, we don't really have cases of people going and voting illegally and things like that. So unfortunately, this is a ploy by the Republican Party, by the conservative movement in the United States to hinder people from exercising their right to vote. And it's going to turn out to be a disaster for many people, especially people who don't have access to passports or birth certificates or things like that. I just wish the federal government was putting as much effort into actually fixing things that were broken, like our economy, healthcare, and a lot of other things, instead of just, going after, fireworks or smoke and mirrors and trying to pretend like they're doing something where they're really just sitting on their laurels.
All right, Alexandra, let's hear from you. Your thoughts on this, and do you think there is a motive by the president for signing this executive order? For some, they say it's just another form of voter suppression.
I think that's a lie. I don't believe it's voter suppression, and I believe it's a common sense thing to request that somebody be a citizen before they vote in this country. You can't go to Finland and vote in their elections. You can't go to France and go vote in their elections. And also, the left had no problem talking about voter fraud or anything of that nature when Hillary Clinton lost to Donald Trump in 2016. And you guys were crying about voter fraud and being disenfranchised and things of that nature. This is not voter suppression, definitely not for the black community, definitely not for the community of Hispanics that are here legally. They have no problem producing these type of papers. They had to do that to get an identification with a star on it to be able to get on a plane. So there's no reason why we can't produce naturalization, birth certificate, or a passport of some sort as a citizen of this country to vote in our elections to make sure the process is fair.
All right, Shanidra, let's hear from you on this.
First of all, I don't know to whom you refer when you said you guys, but I'm an independent. I see the effects of this kind of smoking mirror on children in schools. First of all, you cannot vote in an election if you're not a citizen. Mm-hmm. As he said, there's no evidence that we have substantial voter fraud. That's number two. Number three, I think he's focusing on the wrong document. The U.S. Constitution should be the document that he focuses on. The Epstein files, the numerous books written about his horrible character and things he's done. Those are the documents people should be focusing on, not this. Half of Americans have passports. So I'm sorry, I don't know whom you talk to in the community that of color, but many folks don't have passports, and older
people,
birth
certificates.
Older people
they
don't
have birth certificates.
One at a time, ladies. One at a time.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
One at a time.
They have birth
older
certificates.
people don't. Many older people do not. Okay, call it silly if you want, but they don't.
I did.
So I don't feel that it's even necessary. And again, it's just smoking mirrors to deflect from what he's not doing. And his little minions who are going into these town hall meetings should be prioritizing their constituents' health care, veterans' benefits, their jobs, their pensions. Those are things that take precedence over this.
All right. Melissa, let's hear from you. Your thoughts about this.
Okay, so to stay on topic, the topic was, do we feel like you should have legal identification and you should vote as a U.S. citizen? The answer is yes. If you take the poll that it was taken on your Twitter, was it your Twitter or your Instagram? 87% of the people on that page said that they agree with it. So that would make that, if you look at it mathematically, a bipartisan effort there. And so that means Democrats and Republicans alike agree that you should be a U.S. citizen to vote. Okay, so as we touch on what Ms. Alexandria said, you can't go to these other countries and do that. And so there are many ways that you can provide identification. You can provide a passport. You can provide a driver's license. And most U.S. citizens at least have some form of documentation showing that they're a citizen. Absolutely. And I am aware that there are people who come here on visas and things like that because I've worked with so many of them. However, you still have to go through the process of legal citizenship in order to gain those rights that we have here as Americans.
And really quick, Sessa, as we end this, will this end up obviously in the courts?
I would obviously end up in the courts. This is disenfranchising a lot of people. And if you think everybody has a passport, you have the blinders on because a lot of people don't. And that's the reality of what we're living in. There's no proof that undocumented people vote. This is just, once again, deflection from your president, Donald Trump. And I want to see your examples the next time we come on.
He's your president, too, by the way.
Not mine.
I believe we should have IDs, and we already have to present
and
IDs.
That's
but we
a
shouldn't
form
have
of
to do
identification.
And just quickly,
I read the article, I read the literature, so
Absolutely.
I'm
just quickly, we may have complained about voter fraud in the past, but we didn't try to overthrow the government on January 6th.
Period.
And
You've been trying to
Donald Trump
overthrow the government the whole time, and you're throwing a temper tantrum.
I love the United
have the
States.
next segment is
I love
about
the US.
Teslas being
We want to thank our
vandalized
guests here
by
on
the
the Factor
left.
Uncensored.
I'm not on the left.
Still ahead tonight on the